Hello, in this tutorial I will show you how to make a simple level up system. First, you want to create a new project or use that you are currently working on. But if you are creating a new project, name it however you want, select the third person template and hit create. When you created a project, you can open up the content drawer, add a new folder and call it level up system. Then go inside of that folder and create a new folder that's called blueprints. And in blueprints create another folder that's called widgets. Then in blueprints go back to blueprints folder and create a new actor component and call it BPC level up system. Go inside of that component and create two variables. First is current souls. Make it integer. And the second one is level. And make it integer too. Then we are going to create a new function and let's call it calculate souls. Calculate souls, and it's very important to check it that it is pure, and we are going to add one output and let's call it runes, make it integer, and then you get the level, search for node power, plug the level into the XP and set the base to 1.1. Then you search for node multiply, and the output from power put into the second input of multiply, and the first input set to 1000. Then plug the output from multiply to return node, and that should be all. And we are going to create a new function and let's call it level up. We want to create 4 variables or more, however you want. And the first would be vigor, make it integer. The second one would be endurance. The third one would be strength. And the fourth one would be dexterity. And we are going to create a new folder, let's call it enums. And go inside of that folder and create a new enumerator. And let's call it E attribute. Open it up and add a few attributes, for example vigor, strength, endurance and dexterity. Save this and go back to the BPC level up system. And then we want to add to this function 2 inputs. First would be attribute and make it E attribute enum, and the second one would be integer and call it value. And we are going to drag off the attribute and search for switch on E attribute. Then we are going to where this vigor execute output is, set vigor, and do this for other variables / attributes that you have. When you did that, you can connect the input value into the vigor, strength, endurance, and dexterity, as you can see on my screen. Compile and save, and then go to the content drawer to widgets and create a new user interface and call it level up slot. First we want to drag out of the overlay into the widget. Then we want to from fill screen set to desired on screen. Then we want to drag into the overlay horizontal box. Set it fills horizontally and vertically the overlay. And we are going to put a button and then we want to search for text and put it inside of the horizontal box. Then we want to put another text but into the button and make it say and let's make it something like this, maybe not like this, like this. And the text we want to align send to center. And the text block make sure that it's a variable, and we are going to call it attribute value. And we are going now to create a binding. So bind, create a binding, and we are going to search for get owning player pawn, and then we gonna drag out of this and search for get component by class, and the component would be BPC level up system. Then we are going to get our attributes, so get vigor, get endurance, get strength, and get dexterity. Then we are going to drag out of the return value of our function and search for select node. And we are going to create a new variable, and let's call it attribute. Make it eAttribute and plug it into the index of the select node. And connect vigor to the vigor, strength to strength, endurance to the endurance, and dexterity to dexterity. And we are in this place ready, and we can add functionality to our button now. So we can click on this button, go back down a bit, and in the events search for onClicked and click it. And on clicked we are going to get owning player pawn. Then we want to get component by class, and the component would be level up system. And then we want to call our function level up. Plug our attribute into the attribute in level up function, and we are going to create a new variable, and let's call it add value. Make it integer, and now we are going to set it, search for node 1, then for node add, plug the add value into the first input at 1 and connect it to the add value. And we are going to get the add value and plug it into the value input in level up function. Then we want to compile and save. Go to the designer tab, click on the text, add some padding, maybe like 10, yes, that would be great, and go back to the level up slot, and we are going to make it public the attribute variable. That's very important, so check that icon. And we are going now to the contour drawer and create a new user interface and call it level up menu. Open it up, search for canvas panel, drag it into our widget, then search for overlay, make the size something maybe like 240 by 360, or just bigger, a bit bigger, maybe like 300 by 480. Yes, and make the alignment into 0.5 on X and Y axis and anchor it to the middle. Then you are going to search for image, put it into the overlay, set it to fill horizontally and vertically, make it a bit yellow however you want, set the alpha to 0.4, and then you are going to search for vertical box, put it inside of the overlay, search for level up slot, and put it inside of the vertical box, as you can see. Then we are going to duplicate the level slots, maybe like 4 would be okay. And the first slot make it attribute vigor, the second one make it endurance, the third one make strength, and the fourth dexterity. And hit compile and save, go to the event graph, search for keyboard events 1, then you are going to change key to Q, and on pressed you are going to search for node remove from parent, and you want to get player controller, set show mouse cursor to false, and that would be all there. Compile and save in the graph, of course. Then we want to go back to our level up menu and we want to add another vertical box into the overlay. Align it with bottom of the overlay, and then we are going to put inside of it few texts. The first one would be runes needed, make it say runes needed. Then we are going to add text into our overlay or vertical box. Let's put it into the vertical box. Let's make it that it says runes needed, and we want to duplicate that text and make it that the second text says current runes, and we want to duplicate that text and make the third text says that, and make the third text say our current level. Then we are going to put text inside of the overlay, add a padding from left, something maybe like 200, 220, yes, that would be good. And check this and check it that it is variable. You know, click this little thing and name it runes needed. We are going to create for this a binding, so create a binding. So we want to get our owning player pawn. And then we are going to get component by class. Get the level up component. Then we are going to call a calculate runes function. Calculate souls. And we hit compile and save. Then we are going to duplicate this text and create a new binding. Call search for node get owning player pawn. Get component by class, and it would be the BPC level up component. Get current souls, and we're gonna plug it in and duplicate this text and create a new binding, the third text. So we are going to get owning player pawn, get component by class, the level up component. Then we are going to search for level, the variable, get level, and plug it into the return value, compile and save. Then we are going to rename the second text into the current runes. We are going to add padding on top, something maybe like 400, 300, 250, 275, 70. Okay, that would be good. For me, the 270 works. And we want to select our first text runes needed and added padding something like 220 or 230. And our last text, and let's call it level. We are going to add a padding of 310. And that's good. Then now we are going to go inside of our third person character. We can delete this action. Then we want set keyboard event, and for example this key, click on this and press E on your keyboard. Then you are going to search for node spear trace for objects, not multi-spear trace, for objects. Well, now we want to get our actor location. And the return value we want to put in start and end. The radius we would make something like 120. The object types, search for node make array, and we would make it word dynamic. The actors to ignore make array. Draw debug type would be for duration. And we are going now to create a new interface, blueprint interface, and let's call it BPI interaction. And we go ahead and open it up, and we are going to add one function, and let's call it interact. Compile and save. And now we are going to break the out heat from the spear trace from objects, for objects. put a branch there from the return value, and we are going to drag out of this hit actor and search for node does object implement interface, search for our interface BPI interaction, then search for branch, connect it from true of the second branch, of the first branch into the second, and if object implements interface, we want to call, or we want to message the interact event, and the target we connect to the hit actor. Compile and save. Then we are going to create a new actor, and let's call it BP bonfire. Go ahead and open it up. Add a static mesh. Make it in the static mesh search for cube or whatever other static mesh. Then we are going to the class settings and we want to add interface. Search for BPI interaction. Then we want to click on this and it would make an event. And we are going to create a widget. Make it level up menu. And before that we want to get player controller, set the mouse cursor visible, set show mouse cursor true, and then we want to add this widget into the viewport. So from return value add to viewport. Compile and save, and we want to go back to our third person character, create a new variable, and let's call it can perform action. And we want to set it false after we succeed our interaction with object. We want to set it to false. Compile and save blueprint and set it set the default value to true, and then we are going to add a branch in input action move, plug it the can perform action, and into input action look 2 we are going to plug the can perform action. Compile and save. And go back to the bonfire, compile and save, and go to the level up menu, and go to the graph, event graph, and when we press Q we want to get player character, cast to third person character, and then we want to set the can perform action to true, and on pressed Q we want to set show mouse cursor into false there. We must go to the third person character, add our component. That's very important because without it the system wouldn't work. And set the current souls, for example, like to 500,000, something like that. Level to 5, vigor to, I don't know, 12, endurance to 3, strength 4, dexterity to 2. Compile and save. And we are going back to the level up slot. I did a mistake there. We want to delete the add value variable. We want to delete it, and we want to get attribute at 1 and to connect the output from adding them into the input of level up. Compile and save. So in the level up we are going to get our function calculate souls, get current souls, we are going to get them. Search for subtract, plug the calculate souls node into the second input, and set the current souls. Then we are going to set the level and add 1 into it. And now it all should work. So let's test it. And it works, as you can see. We increased our level and it works. For example, if we increase, the level increases, and that's good. We press Q and we can interact again, and we have our level and attribute set to the values. One last thing before we end. The system I'm using in Hollowed King is much more complex. I'm not going to show it on YouTube. If there is enough interest, I'm considering making a more in-depth course in the future, potentially a paid one. It would cover the full bonfire system and maybe your ideas, and maybe parts of the Soulslike combat. If that sounds interesting, let me know in the comments, or join the Mar Games official Discord server. Link in description, and tell me there. Thanks for watching.